Frank Miller stared at the red dust swirling outside the thick windows of Mars Colony Alpha. He had been commander of this outpost for 3 years now, and the sight still amazed him. 47 people called this place home. Scientists, engineers, and support staff. They were humanity's first permanent settlement on another world. Frank felt pride in that, but also the heavy weight of responsibility. "Commander, you should see this," called Susan Powell from the observation deck. Her voice had an edge that made Frank move quickly. Susan was the colony's lead physicist, brilliant and usually calm. Now her face was pale as she pointed to the main screen. "That's not one of ours," she said. Frank looked at the readout and felt his stomach drop. The object approaching Mars was massive, at least 20 times larger than any Earthship. It wasn't following any registered flight path, and it was slowing down. "Send the first contact protocol message on all frequencies," Frank ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. "Alert Earth immediately." The next hour was tense as they waited. The strange ship entered orbit around Mars and remained silent despite repeated messages. Frank gathered his team in the command center. "We need to prepare for any possibility," he told them. This could be first contact with an alien civilization, or it could be something else. Susan was examining data from their sensors. "The energy readings from that ship are unlike anything I've ever seen. The technology must be centuries beyond ours." Just as Frank was about to respond, the communications officer called out, "Commander, they're sending something. I think it's a response." The message wasn't in any human language. Instead, the screen filled with a series of images. The alien ship, Mars, the human colony, and then the colony disappearing in a flash of light. "That's a threat," Frank said quietly. "Battle stations. Activate defensive shields." Some of his staff looked at him in disbelief. The colony's shields were designed to protect against radiation and meteorites, not an alien. "Attack." But they followed his orders. "Send an emergency message to Earth," Frank continued. "Tell them we believe we are facing hostile alien contact." The message never sent. A bright beam of energy lanced down from the alien ship, striking the communications. A ray. The entire colony shook. "Shields at 60%. Someone yelled. Frank looked at the frightened faces around him. "Everyone to emergency positions. This is not a drill." The next beam hit the colony's power center. Lights flickered and alarms blared. 3 more beams followed in quick succession. "There. Testing our defenses," Susan said, working frantically at her console. "Each attack is different. They're figuring out how our technology works." Frank nodded grimly, and how to beat it. Outside, the Martian sky had turned from dusty red to an angry orange as energy weapons continued to strike. The colony's shields were failing. On the alien ship, Commander Zexter watched with satisfaction. These humans were even more primitive than intelligence had suggested. Their pathetic defenses were collapsing quickly. "Prepare for final strike," Zexter ordered. "These creatures must learn their place in the Galactic Concord." The ship's main weapon began to charge. It would remove this human infestation from the red planet in one blast. But down in the colony, Susan Powell had made a discovery. She had managed to analyze the alien weapon signatures. "Their attacks have a pattern," she told Frank. "If we reroute all power through the experimental fusion reactor, we might be able to create a feedback pulse." "Do it," Frank ordered without hesitation. Susan's fingers flew over the controls. "It might overload our systems completely." "Better than being vaporized," Frank replied. The colony's lights dimmed as power was diverted. The shields were down to 15% now. Another hit, and they would fail completely. Zexter gave the order to fire the main weapon. A massive energy beam struck the human colony. But instead of destruction, something unexpected happened. The beam seemed to bounce back, not at full strength, but enough to rock the alien ship. "Impossible," Zexter shouted. "These primitives should not have such technology. In the colony, systems were failing everywhere. Fires had broken out in 2 sections. The medical bay was filling with injured colonists. But they were still alive. It worked!" Susan exclaimed, though her joy was tempered by the damage report on her screen. "But we can't do that again. The reactor is fried." Frank looked at the casualty list growing on his screen. 17 dead already, more injured. He felt cold rage building inside him. "Send the message to Earth on the backup system," he ordered. "Tell them exactly what happened here. Send all of Susan's data on their weapons." The alien ship was preparing another attack when 3 signals appeared at the edge of the system. Earth ships responding to the colony's distress call sent earlier. They were still hours away, but they were coming. Zexter considered his options. This was supposed to be a simple demonstration of power, not a prolonged engagement. And these humans had somehow managed to damage his ship. "We will withdraw for now," Zexter decided. "The High Command will want to know about this unexpected resistance." The alien ship pulled away from Mars orbit, accelerating rapidly. In the colony, Frank watched the alien retreat with grim satisfaction. But he knew this was just the beginning. Over the next days, as they buried their dead and repaired their damaged home, Earth sent reinforcements. Susan worked day and night, studying the data they had gathered about the alien weapons. "We can adapt this technology," she told Frank one evening, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "We can make it work for us." Frank nodded. "Good, because they'll be back, and next time we need to be ready." A month later, Earth received its first official message from the aliens, identifying themselves as the Galactic Concord. It was not an apology, but a warning: submit or face destruction. Earth's response was brief: "We will never submit." The war had begun, but the aliens had made a crucial mistake. They had shown humans what was possible. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was learning from their enemies. As Susan Powell reverse-engineered alien technology from the debris left in orbit, and as Earth prepared its defenses, no one knew that this conflict would lead to a single rule that would one day make the entire galaxy tremble: never harm a human. 6 months after the attack on Mars Colony Alpha, Earth had transformed. Factories that once made cars now built spaceships. Scientists who had studied diseases now worked on weapons. Everyone had a job to do in the war against the aliens. Admiral Diane Clark stood on the bridge of the Earth's newest ship, the Defender. She was 55 years old and had spent 30 years in the Navy before being chosen to lead humanity's first real space fleet. The fleet wasn't large, just 27 ships, but each one carried weapons, based on what Susan Powell had learned from the alien attack. "Status report," Diane said to her crew. "All ships ready, Admiral," replied her second-in-command. "The Swan strategy is programmed into all computers." Diane nodded. The Swan strategy was her idea. Instead of fighting like traditional naval vessels, Earth's ships would fight like angry bees, moving quickly, attacking from multiple directions, never staying still. "The aliens expect us to be predictable," she had told her captains. "So, we will be unpredictable." Now it was time to see if her strategy would work. Intelligence reports showed that the Galactic Concord was sending a fleet to attack Earth directly. Diane's job was to stop them before they got close to her home planet. On the engineering deck of the Defender, Paul Martinez made final adjustments to his creation. The adaptive shield system was his response to the aliens' attacks on Mars. It could change its energy frequency quickly, making it harder for enemy weapons to break through. "Will it work?" asked a young engineer. Paul wiped sweat from his forehead. "It worked in tests. Now we find out if it works in battle. The alien fleet appeared exactly where intelligence said it would. 50 ships, each one larger than Earth's. Biggest vessel. They moved in a perfect formation, confident in their superior technology and numbers. They still think we're primitives, Diane said with a grim smile. Let's change their minds. Execute swarm strategy now. Earth ships suddenly, scattered in different directions. The alien fleet tried to track them, but the humans were moving in seemingly random patterns. Then the Earth ships attacked, each one targeting a different alien vessel before quickly retreating. On the lead alien ship, Sub-Prefect Krill Vax watched in confusion as his neat formation was disrupted by the human attacks. These are not the tactics in our military database, he said to his officers. They fight like wild animals. Our shields are holding against their weapons, an officer reported. Good. Concentrate fire on their largest vessel, Krillvax ordered. The aliens focused their attack on the defender. Their energy beams struck the ship repeatedly. But something strange happened. Each time they fired, their weapons seemed less effective. On the defender, Paul watched his adaptive shield system work. It's learning, he shouted excitedly. Each hit teaches the shields how to resist the next one. Admiral Clark seized the advantage. All ships focus fire on their command vessel. Use frequency pattern Delta. Earth ships swarmed toward the alien flagship, firing weapons that Susan Powell had designed based on the aliens' own technology. The alien shields, designed to block steady attacks, couldn't adjust to the rapidly changing frequencies of the human weapons. Krillvax felt his ship shake as the shields began to fail. Impossible, he muttered. These humans had primitive defenses just 6 months ago. Sub-Prefect, we should retreat, his second-in-command suggested. We can return with a larger fleet. But before Krillvax could give the order, a final barrage from the Earth ships disabled his vessel's engines. His ship drifted helplessly as the battle continued around him. One by one, the alien ships were disabled or destroyed. Those that could still move began to retreat. The humans had achieved what the Galactic Concord had thought impossible. They had won. Admiral Clark didn't celebrate yet. Boarding teams, prepare to capture the alien flagship. I want prisoners and information. Paul Martinez joined the boarding team. They wore spacesuits and carried weapons as they entered the alien vessel through a damaged section. The gravity was stronger than Earth's, making movement difficult. The air was breathable, but smelled strange, like cinnamon and metal. They found alien crew members injured and frightened. Following their orders, the humans provided medical aid even as they secured the ship. Paul was fascinated by the alien technology, but focused on his mission, finding the ship's commander. They found Krillvax on the bridge, dignified even in defeat. He stood tall, his blue skin marked with symbols of his rank, his 4 eyes watching the humans carefully. I am Sub-Prefect Krillvax of the Galactic Concord, he announced. I demand to be treated according to the Concord's laws of warfare. The human translator relayed his words. The boarding team leader responded, We will treat you and your crew humanely. That is our way. Krillvax was taken to the Defender and placed in a specially prepared room. It wasn't a cell, but a comfortable chamber adjusted to match his home. World's gravity and atmosphere. Doctors examined him and treated a minor injury on his arm. This confused Krillvax. In the Concord, captured enemies were not treated well. Yet these humans, whose colony his people had attacked, were showing him respect. Admiral Clark visited him the next day. Sub-Prefect, I am Admiral Diane Clark of Earth. Krillvax studied her. You commanded the human fleet? You developed the tactics that defeated us? Yes, she answered simply. Why do you treat me well when we showed no mercy to your Mars colony? He asked. Because that is what separates us from you, Diane replied. We fight when we must, but we do not forget our humanity. Humanity? Krillvax repeated the strange word. What does this mean? You'll learn, Diane said. The Galactic Concord has much to learn about humans. As the Earth fleet returned home with their alien prisoner and captured ship, news of the victory spread around the world. Humanity had not just survived, they had won their first battle against the stars. In his comfortable prison, Krillvax sent a message to the Concord leadership. The humans are not what we thought, he wrote. They fight with unexpected ferocity, but show mercy to defeated enemies. They learn and adapt with remarkable speed. I recommend a ceasefire and diplomatic approach. The Galactic Concord, shocked by the defeat of their fleet, agreed. They would meet with these strange humans and try to understand them. They did not yet realize that this was just the beginning of humanity's rise among the stars. 1 month after humanity's surprising victory, Earth received a message from the Galactic Concord. They wanted to talk. The aliens suggested a meeting on neutral ground, a space station they would build at the edge of our solar system. Earth's leaders debated whether to trust this offer. Some believed it was a trap. Others thought it was a chance for peace. In the end, they decided to send representatives to meet the aliens, but they would be careful. Laura Bennett was chosen to lead Earth's team. She had been a diplomat for 20 years and was known for her calm manner and sharp mind. As she prepared for the mission, she met with Krillvax, who was still being held as an honored guest rather than a prisoner. What should I expect from your leaders? Laura asked him. Krillvax's S4 eyes blinked slowly. They will try to intimidate you. They will offer technology or territories in exchange for your submission. And if we don't want to submit? Laura asked. Then prepare for a long war, Krillvax said simply. Laura nodded. We are prepared, but we would prefer peace. The space station was an impressive structure, hanging in the darkness beyond Pluto. It was built in just 3 weeks, showing the aliens' advanced engineering skills. The human delegation arrived in Earth's newest ship, the Unity, which carried not only diplomats, but also scientists and military officers. The meeting chamber was designed to make the humans feel small. The ceiling was very high, the chairs. For the aliens were raised above the floor, and the lighting was dim for human eyes, but perfect for alien vision. Laura Bennett noticed these tactics, but didn't comment on them. Her team took their seats calmly, showing no sign of being impressed or intimidated. The alien delegation was led by Grand Arbiter Vosnek, a tall figure with deep green skin, 6 limbs. His voice was translated by machines into English. The Galactic Concord welcomes the representatives of Earth, Vosnek began. We regret the unfortunate incidents that have occurred between our peoples. We wish to resolve our differences. Laura listened carefully to the choice of words. The attack that killed humans was just an unfortunate incident to them. Earth thanks the Concord for this opportunity, she replied. We also wish for peace. But we must first understand each other. Vosnak made a gesture that the translators identified as agreement. Tell us what you seek. Territory? Technology? Protection? Laura shook her head. We seek only one thing. A law binding on all members of the Galactic Concord that the harming of any human being is forbidden and punishable by your harshest penalties. The alien delegation seemed confused. Vosenak's upper limbs moved in, what might have been surprise. That is all? You do not want planets or technology? He asked. We can find our own planets, Laura said. We can develop our own technology, but we want safety for our people as we do so. Vosenak conferred with his team in their own language. Then he turned back to Laura. This seems a small thing to ask, he said, but I must understand why this matters so much to you. This was the moment Laura had prepared for. She nodded to Kevin Young, the historian on her team. Kevin stepped forward with a data device. "With your permission," Kevin said, "I would like to share some of our history." The aliens agreed, and Kevin activated the device. Images appeared in the center of the room, a visual history of Earth's wars, disasters, achievements, and unity. "Humans have fought each other for thousands of years," Kevin explained. "We have caused great suffering to our own kind, but we have also shown great compassion and courage." The images changed to show humans rescuing others from fires, floods, and earthquakes. "When we are threatened, we unite," Kevin continued. "The attack on Mars Colony Alpha united Earth in a way nothing else could have." The next images showed Earth's rapid development of space technology after the attack. "In just 6 months, we adapted your weapons and shields to our use," Kevin said. "Imagine what we could do in 6 years or 60. The alien delegation watched in silence. Lavra could see they were beginning to understand. "We don't want war," Lavra said. "But if forced to fight, humans will never stop. We will use every resource, every moment, every idea to defend ourselves. And we will remember those who harmed us." Basanak's translator conveyed his words. "Is this a threat?" "No," Lavra replied calmly. "It is simply who we are. But there is an easier path. Declare our people protected under your laws, and we will explore the stars in peace. We may even become valuable allies." The negotiations continued for 3 days. The aliens offered compromises, protection for certain colonies, but not all. Humans, or a temporary law that would expire after a certain time. Lavra rejected all these offers. The rule had to apply to all humans, everywhere, forever. On the 4th day, Vozinak returned with a new proposal. "The Concord will accept your condition," he said. "Harm to any human being will be forbidden. Under our laws, but we have a condition of our own." Lavra waited to hear what they wanted in return. "Earth must share its art, music, and stories with the Concord," Vozinak said. "Our scientists have examined your cultural transmissions and find them unusually stimulating to our minds." This was not what Lavra had expected. She consulted with her team before responding. "We accept," she said finally, "cultural exchange for legal protection." And so the Human Protection Accord was signed. The Galactic Concord considered it a minor diplomatic agreement. They would not harm these strange creatures, and in return, they would receive interesting entertainment. What they did not understand was that they had given humans exactly what they needed: time and safety to expand into the stars on their own terms. As the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Vozinak approached Lavra privately. "Your negotiation style is unusual," he said. "Most species demand territory or technology." Lavra smiled. "Humans value life above possessions," she said. "Remember that about us." Vozinak made a gesture of acknowledgement. "I will remember, though I doubt this simple rule will matter much in the great scheme of the galaxy." Lavra didn't argue. The aliens would learn soon enough what it meant to have a galaxy where harming a human was forbidden by law. Not because humans wanted to control others, but because now they could explore, trade, build, and live without fear. As their ship departed the station, Lavra looked back at the artificial structure hanging in space. The first step was complete. Humanity had secured its place among the stars with just one simple rule. 10 years passed since the signing of the Human Protection Accord. In that time, humans had spread throughout the nearby star systems. They built colonies, trading posts, and research stations. They met many new alien species and learned about the complex politics of the Galactic Concord. Steve Jackson was a merchant who ran supplies between human colonies and alien worlds. His ship, the Lucky Star, was small but fast. Steve had built a good business and made friends among several alien species. He enjoyed the freedom of space travel and the excitement of visiting new worlds. On this particular journey, Steve was carrying medical supplies to a human research station near the Velic system. It was a routine trip he had made many times before. As the Lucky Star traveled through a quiet sector, 3 ships suddenly appeared on Steve's sensors. They were not broadcasting identification codes, which was unusual and against Concord regulations. "This doesn't look good," Steve muttered to himself. He opened a communication channel. "Unknown vessels, this is the human trading ship Lucky Star. Please identify yourselves." There was no response. Instead, the ships moved to surround the Lucky Star. Steve was worried now. He sent an emergency signal on the human defense frequency and prepared to run. But before he could escape, the unknown ships fired on him. The Lucky Star's shields held against the first attacks, but Steve knew they wouldn't last long. "This is Steve Jackson on the Lucky Star," he broadcast on all frequencies. "I am a human merchant under the protection of the Human Protection Accord. Cease your attack immediately." The only answer was more weapons fire. A direct hit damaged the Lucky Star's engines. Steve couldn't run now. Another hit breached the hull, and warning alarms filled the ship. Steve managed to reach an escape pod just before another blast ripped through the main cabin. The small pod ejected from the Lucky Star moments before the ship exploded. Steve watched in horror as his vessel became a ball of fire. The attacking ships scanned the area briefly, then left, apparently satisfied with the destruction they had caused. What they didn't know was that Steve's emergency signal had been received, and they didn't realize that the escape pod's beacon was still transmitting Steve's location and the details of the attack. 3 days later, Steve was rescued by a human patrol ship. He was dehydrated and injured but alive. As medical staff treated him, military officers took his statement about the attack. "Did you recognize the ships?" an officer asked. Steve shook his head. "They were using scrambled identification, but I managed to record some visual data before they destroyed my ship." The officer nodded grimly. "We'll find them, Mr. Jackson. No one attacks a human and gets away with it." The attack on Steve Jackson's ship became a test case for the Human Protection Accord. Earth demanded that the Galactic Concord investigate and punish those responsible. The Concord, seeing this as a minor incident, assigned a small team to look into the matter. What they didn't expect was that humans would launch their own investigation. A special team was formed, led by former Marine Nicole Garcia. Nicole had retired from active service and was actually on vacation when she heard about Steve's attack. She volunteered immediately to lead the hunt for the attackers. "This isn't just about one merchant," Nicole told her team. "This is about the Accord. If we let this attack go unpunished, the rule means nothing." Nicole's team worked alongside the official Concord investigators, but they moved faster and dug deeper. They analyzed the visual data from Steve's ship and identified unique markings on the attacking vessels. They tracked energy signatures through 17 star systems. They interviewed traders, miners, and station staff who might have seen the ships. After 2 months of searching, they found what they were looking for. The attacking ships belonged to a pirate group operating from a hidden base in an asteroid field. The pirates had attacked the Lucky Star, thinking it carried valuable medical technology they could sell on the black market. The Concord authorities were ready to send a small force to arrest the pirates, but Nicole had other ideas. She contacted Earth's Defense Force and requested a special operation. Her request was approved. 5 human military vessels surrounded the pirate base. Instead of attacking immediately, Nicole opened a communication channel. "Attention pirate base," she broadcast. "This is Nicole Garcia of Earth Defense. You attacked and nearly killed a human named Steve Jackson. You are in Violation of the Human Protection Accord. Surrender now. The pirates responded with threats and weapons fire. The human ships didn't fire back. They didn't need to. While Nicole had kept the pirates distracted, special teams had already boarded the base through maintenance tunnels. They moved quickly and efficiently through the base, disabling defenses and capturing pirates. Within 1 hour, the entire pirate operation was shut down. Not a single shot had been fired by the human forces. The pirates were handed over to Concord authorities for trial and punishment under the Accord. News of the operation spread quickly through Concord space. Most species had assumed the Human Protection Accord was just a diplomatic formality. Now they saw what it really meant. Humans would track down anyone who harmed one of their kind, no matter how far they had to go or how long it took. But there was another side to the story that also spread. During the operation, Nicole's team discovered a group of alien children being held captive by the pirates. The children belonged to a species called the Mar, known for their valuable telepathic abilities. Nicole and her team freed the children and ensured they received medical care. Then they arranged transport to return the children to their home world. The Mar were stunned by this act of kindness from aliens they barely knew. A Mar elder asked Nicole, "Why would you help our children?" "We have no alliance with humans." Nicole's answer was simple, because it was the right thing to do. This story traveled across Concord space alongside the news of the pirates' capture. Species throughout the galaxy began to see humans in a new light. They were relentless in pursuing those who harmed them, yet compassionate toward the innocent and vulnerable. As Steve Jackson recovered and prepared to get a new ship, he was visited by a Concord official. The official seemed uncomfortable. "We underestimated your species," the official admitted. "The Accord is not just words to you." Steve nodded. "Humans keep their promises," he said. "Both our promises to protect our own and our promises to live peacefully with others who respect us." The official left with a new understanding. The Human Protection Accord wasn't simply a law. It was becoming the foundation of a new order in the galaxy. An order where harming a human was not just illegal, but increasingly unthinkable. 50 years had passed since the Human Protection Accord was signed. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Humans had spread to hundreds of star systems. They had built cities on strange worlds, established trade routes across vast distances, and formed friendships with dozens of alien species. One of these cities was New Harmony on the planet, Talax Prime. It was a place where humans lived alongside 7 different alien species. The buildings were designed to accommodate different body types, atmospheric needs, and cultural preferences. It was a shining example of cooperation among diverse beings. Eric Walsh walked through the central plaza of New Harmony. He was the captain of a Concord peacekeeping vessel, the first human to command such a ship. His crew included members of 12 different species, working together to maintain order and safety in this sector of space. Eric stopped to buy a fruit drink from a Velic vendor. The tall, thin alien had skin that changed colors based on emotions. Right now, the Velic's skin was a calm blue as he handed Eric the drink. "Thank you, Captain Walsh," the vendor said. "How goes the patrol?" "Quiet," Eric replied with a smile. "Just the way we like it." As Eric continued his walk, he noticed a crowd gathering near the communication center. Curious, he moved closer to see what was happening. A large screen showed news from across the galaxy. A small group of systems on the outer rim of Concord space had declared themselves independent. They refused to follow Concord laws and threatened to fight if challenged. Eric frowned. This could mean trouble. He finished his drink and headed back to his ship. He needed to check if his crew would be called to respond to this situation. On his ship, Eric found a message waiting for him. The Concord Council wanted his vessel to join a fleet gathering near the rebellious systems. but the orders were strange. Instead of preparing for battle, they were told to escort a diplomatic mission. A diplomatic mission? Eric's second-in-command, an alien named Zrel, sounded surprised. For a rebellion? Eric was also confused, but he followed orders. His ship joined 20 other vessels near the edge of Concord space. They formed a protective ring around a single diplomatic ship. To Eric's surprise, the diplomat who would try to end this rebellion was human. Her name was Michelle Rodriguez, and she was known for her skill in resolving conflicts. She had stopped 3 wars in the past decade without a single shot being fired. Dr. Rodriguez, Eric greeted her when she transferred to his ship for a briefing. "I didn't expect to see a human leading this mission," Michelle smiled. "The Concord Council requested me specifically. They believe I have the best chance of resolving this peacefully." "What do the rebels want?" Eric asked. "They feel the Concord has too many rules," Michelle explained. "They want freedom to develop their own laws and trade policies." Eric nodded. "And if diplomacy fails?" Michelle's expression became serious. "Then the Concord will have to decide if they want to force these systems to stay. But I don't think it will come to that." The diplomatic mission arrived at the edge of rebel territory. The rebels had a small fleet of their own, but they allowed Michelle's ship to approach alone. Eric watched nervously from his command post, ready to rush to her aid if needed, but no rescue was required. Michelle spent 3 days in talks with the rebel leaders. When she returned to the Concord fleet, she was smiling. "They will remain in the Concord," she announced to the gathered captains. "What did you offer them?" someone asked. "A compromise," Michelle said. "They will have more control over their local laws and trade, while still following the core principles of the Concord, including the Human Protection Accord." One of the alien captains made a sound that translated as laughter. Of course they would keep that rule. No one dares break it anymore. Later, in private, Eric asked Michelle how she really convinced the rebels. "I told them the truth," she said, "that the Concord is changing, that humans and other species are working to make it better for everyone. I asked them to help us change it from within, rather than fighting from outside. And they believed." "You?" Eric was surprised. "They believed me because humans have earned a reputation for keeping our word," Michelle replied. "And because they know what happens when someone breaks the one rule everyone fears now." As Michelle's ship departed, Eric thought about how much had changed. The rule that had once seemed like a simple protection for humans had become something more. It had become a foundation for trust between species. Because if humans would go to such lengths to protect their own kind, and yet show mercy and kindness to others, they could be trusted as friends and allies. On a distant world, the aging Krillvax, now an ambassador to Earth, sat in a garden with a human child. The child was the daughter of a diplomat, curious about the blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes. "Is it true that people used to be afraid?" "Of humans?" the child asked. Krillvax nodded slowly. "When I first met humans, my people thought they were dangerous primitives. We attacked them. It was a terrible mistake." "But you're friends with humans now," the child said. "Yes," Krillvax agreed. "I have lived among humans for 50 years. I have seen how they fight fiercely to protect their own, yet show compassion to others. I have seen them build rather than conquer." The child considered this. "My teacher says the rule about not harming humans helped keep peace in the galaxy. Is that true?" Krillvax looked up at the stars appearing in the evening sky. "The rule gave humans time to spread among the stars safely. But it was what humans did with that time that truly changed the galaxy." "What did we do?" the child asked. "You showed the galaxy a different way," Krillvax said. "Most species expand through conquest or careful isolation. Humans reached out. You formed connections. You adopted alien children, created multi-species. businesses, and built cities where different beings lived together. A child smiled proudly. Like New Harmony. Yes, like New Harmony, Krillvax agreed. And now, no one would break the rule about harming humans, not because they fear punishment, but because humans have become essential to the galaxy. As night fell on Earth, and across the thousands of worlds where humans now lived alongside other intelligent beings, the rule that had once been just words on a diplomatic agreement had become something more. It had become the symbol of a new understanding throughout the stars. Those who protect others with such determination, yet show such compassion even to former enemies, are not to be feared. They are to be valued